They say karma works in mysterious ways. For Kosi Ibe, it worked in less than 5 minutes. Kosi straightened her new employee badge, taking a deep breath. First day, new beginning. Finally, things were looking up after months of job hunting while juggling classes. The luxury department store gleamed around her, all marble floors and designer displays. She could do this. Then she heard it. A child's desperate crying from the children's section. She hesitated. Not my problem. First day. Stay focused. But the crying got worse, louder, more broken, the kind of sobbing that tears at your heart. Kosi cursed under her breath and abandoned her post. A little girl, maybe 7, sat crumpled between racks of designer clothes, tears streaming down her face. Employees walked past with their eyes forward. Customers pretended not to notice. Everyone was too busy, too important, too focused on their commissions. Kosi knelt down beside her. "Hey, sweetheart, what's wrong?" The girl hiccuped, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. I can't find my nanny, and Daddy's in a meeting." "Oh no, that's scary, huh?" Kosi pulled out a tissue from her pocket, gently wiping the girl's tears. "But look at you. Even crying, you're so pretty, like a little princess." The girl's sobs slowed down. She sniffled, looking up at Kosi with big wet eyes. Really? Really? What's your name?" "Ha-rin." "That's a beautiful name. Ha-rin, I'm Kosi." She smiled warmly, smoothing down the girl's disheveled hair. "Your nanny will find you soon, I promise. Want to sit with me until she comes?" Ha-rin nodded, her breathing finally evening out. She studied Kosi's face carefully, then her eyes lit up with that innocent childhood logic only kids possess. "You're really nice. And pretty, too." She tilted her head. "Do you want to marry my daddy?" Kosi blinked, caught completely off guard. "What?" "My daddy is really handsome, like the prince in my cartoons." Ha-rin's excitement grew, tears completely forgotten now. "And he's really tall and strong, and he always protects me. In the cartoons, the princess always marries the prince, right? You could be my new mommy." Kosi couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, sweetie, I don't think it works that way in real life." "But you're nice, and you helped me. In Sophia the First, when someone is kind, they become family." Ha-rin grabbed both of Kosi's hands earnestly. "Please, Daddy needs someone nice. He's always alone." Kosi's heart squeezed. This kid was too precious for words. "Your daddy is very lucky to have you thinking about him like that." "So you'll marry him?" Pure hope shone in those little eyes. "Well, I haven't even met him yet, and he's really handsome, I promise. Like Flynn Rider, and he buys me everything I want, and he reads me stories every night when he's home, and—" "Ha-rin!" A frazzled nanny rushed over, bowing repeatedly to Kosi. "I'm so sorry, miss. Thank you so much for staying with her. I only looked away for a moment." "It's okay. She's a sweetheart." Kosi stood up, ruffling Ha-rin's hair one last time. Ha-rin waved enthusiastically as the nanny led her away. "Bye. Future mommy, don't forget you promised." "I didn't promise." But Ha-rin was already gone, and Kosi was laughing, shaking her head. Kids and their imaginations. She didn't see the store manager watching from across the floor, his face twisted with fury. 30 minutes later, Kosi stood in his office, still confused about why she'd been summoned. "You're fired." The words hit her like a slap. "What? Why? First day, and you abandon your station for half an hour? During peak shopping hours?" He didn't even look up from his paperwork. "We have standards here. Clearly you don't meet them. Security will escort you out." "I was helping a lost child. She was crying and scared, and everyone else was ignoring her." "Not my problem. And not yours either, apparently, since you no longer work here." He waved a dismissive hand. "Leave your badge at the front desk." Kosi's hands trembled, not from sadness, from pure, white-hot rage. She'd done everything right. Months of applications, finally landing this job, showing up early, looking professional, being kind to a terrified child. And this was her reward? Fired for basic human decency? She slammed her badge on his desk. "You know what? This place deserves people like you. Enjoy your commission." She stormed out before he could respond. The mall corridor blurred around her as fury carried her toward the exit. Her jaw was clenched so tight it ached. first day. She lasted exactly 3 hours on her first freaking day. She was so angry, so lost in her thoughts, looking down at the marble floor, muttering under her breath about the injustice of it all, that she didn't see him. Wham! She slammed into someone. Hard. The impact nearly knocked her backward. Her bag slipped off her shoulder, spilling papers, and her phone onto the floor. Kosi didn't even look up properly. She was too angry, too done with this entire cursed day. She just dropped to her knees, snatched up her belongings with jerky, furious movements, and kept walking. No apology. No, excuse me, nothing. Behind her, Min-jae stood frozen in the middle of the corridor. Tall, expensive tailored suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Dark eyes that had seen too much. An aura that made people instinctively step aside. His 6 bodyguards had already moved, hands reaching inside their jackets. Min-jae raised one hand. The bodyguards froze. He watched the young woman disappear into the crowd, her handbags swinging with each angry step, her spine rigid with fury. She hadn't even glanced at his face, hadn't registered who he was, hadn't apologized, hadn't shown even a flicker of the fear or fawning respect everyone else gave him. For the first time in years, Min-jae was genuinely stunned. People didn't treat him like he was invisible. Ever. Everyone either feared him, wanted something from him, or both. This woman had just bulldozed into him and walked away like he was furniture. His right-hand man, Tae-yang, stepped forward, his jaw tight. "Sir, should I bring her back?" "No." Min-jae's voice was quiet, thoughtful. A ghost of something, amusement, intrigue, flickered across his usually expressionless face. Then a small hand tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy." Min-jae turned. "Ha-rin, I told you to wait in the car," the nanny called. But Ha-rin had already reached Min-jae, grabbing his sleeve and pointing excitedly toward where Kosi had disappeared. "Daddy!" Ha-rin looked up at him with wide, excited eyes. "That's her. That's the nice lady who helped me." Min-jae's gaze sharpened. He looked back toward where the woman had vanished, then down at his daughter. "The one you were telling me about in the car?" "Yes. She was so nice. She made me stop crying and she said I was pretty like a princess." Ha-rin bounced on her toes. "I asked her to marry you." Tae-yang coughed to cover what might have been a laugh. Min-jae's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "Did you now?" "Uh-huh. She's perfect, Daddy. She's nice and pretty, and she didn't ignore me like everyone else did." Ha-rin's face grew serious. "Everyone else just walked past me, but she stopped. She stayed with me until Nanny found me." Min-jae crouched down to his daughter's level, his expression softening in the way it only did for her. "And what did this nice lady say when you asked her to marry me?" "She laughed, but in a nice way, not a mean way." Ha-rin grabbed his hand. "Can we find her, Daddy, please? I want her to be my mommy." Min-jae straightened, his mind already working. The woman who'd shown his daughter kindness when everyone else looked away. The same woman who'd just crashed into him and hadn't even bothered to apologize because she was too angry about something. 2 encounters, both memorable, both unusual. "Tae-yang," he said quietly. "Find out everything. Who she is, why she was here, why she was angry. Everything." "Already on it, sir. I'll pull the security footage and have a full report within the hour." Min-jae nodded, taking Ha-rin's hand as they walked toward the exit, but his thoughts stayed on dark skin, furious eyes, and the novelty of being completely ignored. No one ignored Min-jae, but she had, and somehow that made her infinitely more interesting than anyone he'd met in years. By the time Min-jae reached his car, Tae-yang already had preliminary information. "Sir, her name is Kosi Ibe, Nigerian student at Yonsei University, 2nd year. She was hired this morning, her first day at the store, and..." Tae-yang paused, his jaw tightening. "She was fired 30 minutes ago." Min-jae's eyes narrowed. "For what?" "For helping Ha-rin." The temperature in the car seemed to drop. Min-jae's expression didn't change, but Ha-rin felt her daddy's hand tighten slightly around hers. "Explain." Tae-yang pulled up the security footage on his tablet. "The store manager fired her for abandoning her post. The post she abandoned was to stay with Ha-rin until the nanny found her. Every other employee walked past Ha-rin. She was the only one who stopped." Min-jae watched the footage in silence. Kosi kneeling beside his daughter, wiping her tears, making her smile, staying with her, patient and kind, while shoppers and employees passed by like Ha-rin was invisible. Then the manager's office footage. Kosi's face, stunned and then furious, the badge slamming on the desk. "Sir?" Taeyang called carefully. "Close the store." "I'm sorry?" Min-jae's voice was ice, effective immediately, full closure. "No one enters, no one leaves. And bring me the manager and every employee who walked past my daughter. I want to have a conversation with all of them about their priorities." "Understood, sir." "And Miss Ibe?" Min-jae was quiet for a long moment, watching the footage loop. Kosi's genuine smile as she comforted Ha-rin. The way his daughter had stopped crying, started laughing. "Find out when she goes to school. I'll handle this personally." What happens when a fearless Nigerian student collides with Korea's most dangerous man? Drop your predictions in the comments below. And if you're loving this story so far, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. What Min-jae didn't know was that Kosi's day was about to get even more complicated. Kosi barely remembered the subway ride home. She sat in the corner of the car, arms wrapped around herself, still seething. 3 hours. She'd lasted 3 hours. Her roommate, Ji-hai, was sprawled on the couch watching a drama when Kosi walked in. Ji-hai took one look at her face and sighed. "Let me guess. You got fired." Kosi dropped her bag by the door. "How did you—" "Because this keeps happening, Kosi." Ji-hai sat up, her expression a mix of frustration and exhaustion. "This is the 4th job in 6 months. Every single time it's the same story. You help someone, you break some rule, you get fired." "I helped a lost child, Ji-hai. She was 7 years old and crying. And that's very noble, but we have rent to pay." Ji-hai stood up, running her hands through her hair. "I can't keep covering for you. I have my own bills, my own tuition. I'm a student too." Kosi felt her stomach drop. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you have 1 month. Ji-hai's voice was firm but not unkind. 1 month to find a stable job and keep it, or you need to find somewhere else to live. I'm sorry, Kosi, but I can't do this anymore. You're a good person, maybe too good, but I can't subsidize your conscience." Kosi nodded slowly. No tears, no begging, just acceptance. 1 month. Got it. She walked to her small room and closed the door. Then she pulled out her laptop and started updating her resume. Again, 1 month. Fine, she'd figure it out. She always did. The next 2 weeks were a blur of job applications and classes. Kosi threw herself into the hunt with focused determination. Coffee shops, restaurants, retail stores, tutoring gigs. She applied to everything. A few places called her back. None of them worked out. But Kosi didn't panic, didn't cry. She just kept applying, kept pushing, kept moving forward. That's what she did. That's who she was. She was going home after lecture on a Wednesday afternoon, mentally composing another cover letter, when she saw them. 2 men in dark suits standing by the exit of the lecture hall. They looked completely out of place among the students in hoodies and backpacks. One of them was scanning the crowd, his gaze methodical, professional. When his eyes landed on Kosi, he straightened and nudged his companion. Kosi's eyebrows rose. She kept walking, her pace steady, watching them in her peripheral vision. They were walking toward her. The taller one bowed slightly. "Miss Ibe? Kosi Ibe?" Kosi stopped, turning to face them fully. Her expression was polite but guarded. "Who's asking?" "My name is Taeyang. I work for someone who would like to speak with you. It's regarding an incident 2 weeks ago at the Shinsegae department store." "The department store?" Kosi's eyebrows rose higher. "Let me guess. The manager sent you to lecture me about company policy?" "The manager has been dealt with," Taeyang said smoothly. "Mr. Kang would like to speak with you, to thank you personally for helping his daughter." Kosi blinked, then her eyes widened slightly. "Wait, the little girl, Ha-rin?" "Yes, she hasn't stopped talking about you." Something that might have been amusement flickered across Taeyang's professional expression. "Mr. Kang would like to invite you to his home this Saturday. At your convenience, of course." Kosi crossed her arms, studying them. 2 grown men in Expensive suits tracking down a university student to deliver an invitation. This was either very legitimate or very sketchy, possibly both. Why didn't he just call me? We don't have your number, Miss Ibe. And yet you found my university and knew when my lecture ended. Kosi's tone was dry. Interesting. Taeyang's lips twitched. Mr. Kang is thorough, and he wants to thank you in person. Uh-huh. And what if I say no? Then we respect your decision and leave you alone. Taeyang pulled out a business card, simple and expensive looking. Just a name, King Min-jae, and a phone number. But Ha-rin has been asking if she could see you again. She was quite fond of you. Kosi took the card, turning it over in her fingers. The little girl with the tear-stained face and the ridiculous question about marrying her dad. She'd been sweet, genuine, and honestly, Kosi was curious. What kind of father sent men in suits to track someone down just to say thank you? Saturday. What time? 2:00. We can send a car. I'll get there myself. Just text me the address. Taeyang's expression shifted to something like respect. Of course, Miss Ibe. We'll send the details. Kosi watched them leave, then looked down at the card in her hand. Well, this should be interesting. Jihai's reaction that night was predictable and loud. Are you crazy? Random men show up at your school and you just agree to go to some stranger's house? He's not a stranger. He's Ha-rin's father. That you met once, 2 weeks ago, and now he's tracking you down like some kind of... Jihai waved her hands. I don't even know what. This is how horror movies start, Kosi. Kosi was sprawled on her bed, scrolling through her phone. It's not a horror movie. It's a thank you. The kid was sweet. I'm curious. Curious is how people end up on true crime podcasts. Then you can be interviewed about what a fearless, beautiful soul I was. Kosi grinned. Come on, Jihai. What's the worst that could happen? Death, kidnapping, organ harvesting? I'll text you the address. If I don't check in by 5, call the police. Kosi sat up. But I'm going. That little girl asked me to marry her dad. I need to see what kind of man inspires that level of matchmaking from a 7-year-old. Jihai groaned. You're impossible. I prefer adventurous. Saturday arrived with perfect weather. Kosi dressed in jeans and a fitted top with a casual blouse thrown over it, the kind of outfit that said she could go from a polite meeting to kicking ass in combat boots if needed. Her hair was in neat curls, practical and no nonsense. The address Taeyang had sent was in Hanam-dong, which even Kosi knew meant serious money. She took the subway and then a bus, watching the neighborhoods get progressively fancier. High walls, security gates, houses that looked like they belonged in architecture magazines. When she finally reached the address, she stood outside the gate for a moment, just taking it in. This wasn't a house. This was an estate. Modern, clean lines. The kind of place that screamed wealth so loud it didn't need to say a word. Well, Kosi muttered to herself. Ha-rin wasn't kidding about her dad having money. She pressed the intercom button. The gate swung open almost immediately, and a woman in a neat uniform appeared. The nanny from the store. Miss Ibe, please, come in. Ha-rin has been counting down the hours. Before Kosi could respond, she heard it. Kosi. A small tornado in a pink dress came sprinting down the driveway. Her face lit up like Christmas morning. Kosi barely had time to brace herself before Ha-rin crashed into her legs, hugging her with the full enthusiasm only children possess. You came. You really came. I told Daddy you would. Ha-rin pulled back, grabbing Kosi's hand. Come on. I want to show you everything. My room, my dolls, my art project. Daddy's in the living room, but he can wait because I have so much to show you. Kosi laughed, letting herself be pulled along. Okay. Lead the way, boss. The nanny followed behind, smiling. She's been preparing all morning. She cleaned her room 3 times. 3 times? Kosi raised her eyebrows at Ha-rin. Ha-rin looked sheepish. I wanted it to be perfect. You're important. Kosi's heart melted a little. You're pretty important yourself, kiddo. They made it approximately 10 feet into the house before Ha-rin remembered something crucial. She stopped abruptly, turning to face Kosi with very serious eyes. Wait. Before we do anything else, I need to remind you about something very important. Okay. Ha-rin crossed her arms, trying to look stern, but mostly looking adorable. You promised to marry my daddy, remember? Kosi blinked, then laughed. Ha-rin, I didn't actually promise. Yes, you did. You laughed, and that means you were thinking about it, and thinking about it is basically promising. Ha-rin's logic was ironclad in her 7-year-old mind. So you can't back out now. I already told Daddy you said yes. You told him what? Kosi's eyes widened. That you're going to be my new mommy. He didn't say no, so that means he agrees. It's decided. Ha-rin nodded firmly. Now come see my room. She started pulling Kosi forward again, leaving Kosi somewhere between amused and mortified. Ha-rin, you can't just tell people they're getting married. Why not? In my shows, when two people like each other, they get married. Daddy needs someone nice. You're nice. Perfect. Ha-rin's voice echoed through the hallway. Daddy, Kosi's here, and she remembers she promised to marry you. Kosi wanted to sink through the floor. From somewhere in the house, she heard a low, amused male voice. Is that so? And then he appeared at the end of the hallway. Kosi stopped dead. It was him. The man from the store. The one she'd crashed into. The one she'd been too angry to even look at properly. Tall, expensive sweater and slacks that probably cost more than most people's entire wardrobe. Dark eyes that were currently filled with barely contained amusement, and handsome. Stupidly, unfairly handsome in that sharp-featured, dangerous way that should come with a warning label. Their eyes met. Recognition flickered through both of them at the same moment. You, Kosi said. You, Min-jae echoed, and this time he didn't hide his smile. The woman who bulldozed into me and didn't apologize. The man who was standing in the middle of a walkway. Kosi shot back without missing a beat. Ha-rin looked between them, confused. You know each other. We've met, Min-jae said, walking toward them. Though we weren't properly introduced. I'm Kang Min-jae, Ha-rin's father. He extended his hand. Kosi took it, her grip firm. Kosi Ibe, the woman who apparently promised to marry you without realizing it. Min-jae's smile widened. Yes, I've heard. All about this promise, multiple times, in great detail. I can explain. Please don't. Min-jae's eyes were dancing with amusement. It's the most entertainment I've had in years. Ha-rin, why don't you show Kosi your room? I'll make some tea. Okay, come on, Kosi. Ha-rin was already pulling her toward the stairs. Kosi let herself be dragged away, but not before catching Min-jae's expression. He was still smiling, watching her with open curiosity. This was going to be interesting. Ha-rin's room was every little girl's dream. Books, dolls, art supplies, and a reading nook by the window. But what caught Kosi's attention was the wall of drawings. All of families. A tall man, a little girl, and in the recent ones, a woman with curls. Is that? That's you, Ha-rin pointed proudly. I've been drawing our family. See? That's Daddy, that's me, and that's you. I made you pretty. Kosi's throat tightened. Ha-rin, I know you didn't really promise, Ha-rin said quietly, her earlier enthusiasm dimming slightly. But I really like you, Kosi, and Daddy is lonely even though he pretends he's not. And I thought, maybe if I asked really nicely, you might stay. Kosi knelt down, meeting Ha-rin's eyes. Hey, I'm here, aren't I? I came back because I wanted to see you. That counts for something. Really? Really? Kosi booped her nose. Now show me this art project you were so excited about. They spent an hour in Ha-rin's room, going through drawings, playing with dolls, and Ha-rin explaining in extensive detail the complex political relationships between her stuffed animals. Kosi found herself genuinely enjoying it, her earlier reservations fading. Finally, Mrs. Choi appeared at the door. Ha-rin, let's give Kosi a break. Your father would like to speak with her. Ha-rin pouted, but nodded. Okay, but you're coming back up, right? I promise, Kosi said. She followed Mrs. Choi downstairs to a spacious living room where Min-jae was waiting. Tea, already prepared. He gestured to the couch. Please sit. Thank you for humoring Ha-rin's enthusiasm. Kosi sat, accepting the tea he offered. She's a sweetheart, and very determined about this whole marriage thing. She is. Min-jae settled into the chair across from her, his expression softening. I apologize for that. She's been fixated on it since that day at the store. I've tried to explain that you can't just decide someone is going to be your mother, but 7-year-olds have their own logic. It's okay. She's sweet. Kosi's voice was gentle. Has she lost her mother? Min-jae's expression flickered with old pain. 2 years ago. Cancer. It was fast. Ha-rin was only 5. I'm sorry. Thank you. He was quiet for a moment. But I didn't invite you here to discuss my personal tragedy. I wanted to thank you properly for what you did. You helped my daughter when everyone else walked past her. That means something. It was basic human decency, which is apparently in short supply. Min-jae's voice took on an edge. He continued as if she hadn't spoken. The store has been closed. Permanently. The manager has been terminated, along with several other staff members who demonstrated similar lapses in judgment. Kosi's mouth fell open. You closed the entire store? I'm in the process of deciding what to do with the property. But yes, it's closed. He said it like he was discussing the weather. Like shutting down a luxury department store was a minor inconvenience. Kosi's eyebrows rose. You shut down an entire store because they fired me? I shut down an entire store because they created an environment where a lost child could cry for 20 minutes and not one person stopped to help. Except you. Min-jae met her eyes. Who you helped, and you lost your job for it. That's unacceptable. Kosi studied him, seeing the steel beneath the polite exterior. This was a man used to getting his way, used to fixing problems with money and power. So what now? She asked. You've thanked me. The store is closed. Justice is served. Is that it? Min-jae smiled slightly. Actually, I have a proposition for you. Here we go, Kosi thought. I'm listening. I'd like to hire you. As what? Min-jae leaned back. I need a secretary. Someone competent, discreet, and someone who can handle high-pressure situations without falling apart. Kosi raised an eyebrow. And you think I'm qualified for this because you crashed into me and didn't apologize, because you got fired for doing the right thing and didn't cry about it, because you just spent an hour with my daughter and treated her like a person, not a trophy. Min-jae's gaze was steady. You're smart, you're capable, and most importantly, you're not intimidated by me. Should I be? Most people are. Most people aren't me. Kosi shot back. I don't do intimidation well. Min-jae's lips twitched. Exactly my point. So, will you take the job? What's the pay? He named a figure that made Kosi's eyes widen slightly. That was significantly more than she'd been making. More than she'd make in 6 months at any retail job. That's generous. That's what competent secretaries earn in my line of work. Min-jae pulled out a folder. Standard contract. 3-month trial period for a start. Flexible hours around your class schedule. You'll work from my main office in Gangnam most days, but when I work from home, you'll work here. And Ha-rin? We'll probably talk your ear off whenever you're here, Min-jae said with a slight smile. But that's not part of your job description. That's just a bonus. From the doorway, Ha-rin's voice rang out. I'm a very good bonus. Kosi laughed. How long has she been listening? The entire time, probably, Min-jae said dryly. Ha-rin, come here. Ha-rin bounced into the room. So Kosi's going to work for you, Daddy? If she accepts, yes. Ha-rin turned to Kosi with very serious eyes. Does this mean you're going to marry Daddy now? Ha-rin, Min-jae started. What? I'm just asking. Ha-rin looked between them. In my shows, when the prince hires the princess to work in his castle, they always fall in love and get married. Kosi bit back a laugh. Sweetie, this is real life, not a show. But you promised to marry him, in the store. I didn't actually promise. You laughed. That means you were thinking about it. And thinking about it is basically promising. Ha-rin crossed her arms. Kosi looked at Min-jae. Is she always like this? Unfortunately, yes. Kosi knelt down to Ha-rin's level. Okay, here's the deal. Even if I had promised, which I didn't, your dad would have to actually ask me to marry him first. That's how it works. Ha-rin's eyes went wide. She spun to face Min-jae. Daddy, ask her. Ha-rin, we just met. So? In Cinderella, they danced one time and got married. Real life doesn't work like cartoons, Min-jae said patiently. Well, it should, Ha-rin huffed. Then she looked at Kosi with determination. Fine. But when Daddy does ask you to marry him, you have to say yes because you promised. I didn't. But Ha-rin was already skipping away, humming to herself. Kosi stood up, shaking her head. Your daughter is something else. Min-jae's expression softened briefly, then became businesslike again. So, the job. Are you accepting? Kosi looked at the contract, at the salary, at the opportunity sitting in front of her. Then she looked at Min-jae. 3 months trial. I want it in writing that if this doesn't work out, I leave with a good reference and no drama. Done. And I'm not living here. I'll get my own place. Min-jae blinked, clearly surprised. I was going to offer you a room here. It would be more convenient. I'm sure it would, but I like my independence. Kosi's tone was firm. I'll work for you. I'll be professional. I'll even hang out with Ha-rin when I'm here. But I'm not moving into my boss's house. That's a boundary I'm keeping. For a moment, Min-jae just stared at her. Then he smiled. A real, genuine smile. You really are something else, Kosi Ibe. I know. She picked up the pen. Now where do I sign? When Kosi got home that evening, Ji-hai took one look at her face and immediately poured wine. Okay, spill. What happened? I took the job. As a nanny? As his secretary. Kosi flopped onto the couch. Apparently, I'm now working for a potentially dangerous, definitely powerful man who operates in gray areas of business. Ji-hai choked on her wine. Secretary? Kosi, you don't even know what he does. He told me, sort of. He's a fixer. Deals in information, influence, connections. Some of it's legitimate business, some of it's less conventional, but he keeps the city running smoothly. And you said yes? The pay is insane, Ji-hai, like insane. Kosi showed her the contract. Ji-hee's jaw dropped. That's per month? Per month. Oh my God. I know. You're going to be rich. I'm going to be comfortable, Kosi corrected, and independent. Which is why I'm giving you notice. Ji-hai's face fell. You're moving out? First paycheck. I'm getting my own place. Nothing against you. You've been amazing. But I need my own space. Plus, you won't have to worry about me losing jobs anymore. Where are you going to live? I don't know yet. Somewhere nice. Maybe Gangnam, since that's where his office is. Kosi grinned. I'm thinking a place with good natural light. Maybe a balcony. Definitely a bathtub. Listen to you. Already planning your soft girl era. After months of job hunting and sleeping on a couch? You're damn right I'm entering my soft girl era. Kosi took a sip of wine. I'm talking skincare fridge, matching pajama sets, maybe even a car. A car? Why not? If I'm making this kind of money, I'm going to live. Ji-hai laughed, shaking her head. I can't believe this. 2 weeks ago, you were getting fired from a department store. Now you're about to become a whole boss babe. Not a boss babe, just a babe with boundaries and a good salary. Good. Keep that energy. Ji-hai clinked her glass against Kosi's. But also, I want updates. Detailed updates. Because this man sounds fine and dangerous, which is a terrible combination. He's my boss. He's a fine boss who has a cute kid who wants you to marry him. Ha-rin is 7 and watches too many cartoons. Ha-rin has vision. Kosi threw a pillow at her. Monday morning, Kosi showed up at Min-jae's Gangnam office building at exactly 8:45 a.m. The building was sleek, modern, expensive. The kind of place where everyone wore designer suits and walked with purpose. Kosi had dressed carefully, professional but not trying too hard. Blazer, nice blouse. Slacks. Her hair in neat curls dyed cold. The receptionist directed her to the top floor. Of course it was the top floor. Tae-yang met her at the elevator. Miss Ibe, right on time. Mr. Kang appreciates punctuality. Then Mr. Kang and I will get along great. Kosi followed him down a corridor lined with offices. So what exactly does a normal day look like? Managing Mr. Kang's schedule, screening calls and visitors, preparing briefings for meetings, occasionally attending meetings to take notes. Tae-yang paused outside a large door, and maintaining absolute discretion about everything you see and hear. Understood. Good. Tae-yang opened the door. Your office is here. Mr. Kang's is through that connecting door. He's in a meeting right now, but should be free in 20 minutes. Kosi's office was beautiful. Clean desk, comfortable chair, a view of the city. On the desk was a new laptop, a company phone, and a welcome packet. She was setting up her workspace when the connecting door opened. Min-jae stepped through, looking every bit the powerful executive in a perfectly tailored suit. Kosi, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Kang. His lips twitched. When it's just us or Taeyang, you can call me Min-jae. The formality isn't necessary. And in front of others? Mr. Kang is fine. He handed her a folder. This is today's schedule. I have 3 meetings, 2 phone conferences, and a site inspection at 4 p.m. You'll attend all meetings to take notes. Kosi flipped through the schedule. The 2 p.m. meeting. It just says, private consultation. What's that about? Exactly what it sounds like. Someone with a problem they need solved quietly. Min-jae's expression was neutral. You'll sit in, observe, say nothing unless I ask you a direct question. Got it. Mysterious and discreet. I can do that. Good. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. We're working from the estate tomorrow. I have calls I need to take from home. So I'll see Ha-rin. She's already planning your entire visit. Something about showing you her new art project. Min-jae's expression softened slightly. Fair warning. She's made you approximately 15 new drawings. Kosi laughed. I'll make sure to admire every single one. The first day was a whirlwind. Kosi learned quickly that Min-jae's business was exactly as he'd described. Not too complicated. People came to him with problems. He solved them through connections, information, carefully applied pressure. Nothing overtly illegal happened in front of her, but the implication of power was everywhere. And Kosi? She took notes, stayed quiet, observed everything. By the end of the day, Min-jae called her into his office. Your thoughts on today? Kosi sat down. You're scarier than you look. Which is saying something, because you already look pretty scary. He raised an eyebrow. That's your professional assessment? My professional assessment is that you run a sophisticated operation that operates in moral gray areas by leveraging information and connections to solve problems that can't be solved through traditional channels. Kosi leaned back. My personal assessment is that you're scary, but in a gets things done way, not a randomly violent way. I can work with that. Min-jae studied her for a long moment. You're not afraid. Should I be? Most people are. We've established I'm not most people. Kosi stood. Anything else? Or can I go home and collapse? One thing. Min-jae pulled out an envelope. Your first week's advance. I figured you'd need it for getting settled. Kosi opened the envelope. It was a substantial amount. This is yours. Use it however you want. Kosi looked at the money, then at Min-jae. Thank you. Seriously. You earned it. See you tomorrow at the estate, 9 a.m. I'll be there. That night, Kosi went apartment hunting online while eating ramyeon on Jihai's couch. Look at this one. Kosi showed Jihai her phone. Gangnam, 1 bedroom, balcony, and it has a bathtub. You're really doing the independence thing. Hell yes. Full soft girl era. Matching pajamas, skincare routine, maybe even plants. Jihai laughed. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, Kosi echoed. She had no idea just how much her life was about to change. The next morning, Kosi arrived at the estate at exactly 9 a.m., ready for her first work-from-home day. Mrs. Choi let her in with a warm smile. Mr. Kang is in his office. Ha-rin is in the garden, but she's been watching the driveway for the past hour. Right on cue, Kosi heard a delighted squeal. Kosi! Ha-rin came sprinting from the garden, nearly tackling Kosi in a hug. You're here! You're really here! I thought maybe you changed your mind. I work for your dad now, remember? I'll be here a lot. Kosi hugged her back. Good, because I made you 17 drawings and I need to show you all of them. Ha-rin grabbed her hand. But Daddy said I have to wait until lunch because you're working. But lunch is in 3 hours, and I can wait 3 hours because I'm very patient. You are extremely patient, Kosi agreed, trying not to laugh. Min-jae appeared in the doorway of his office, looking amused. Ha-rin, let Kosi actually get to work. I am. I'm just saying hello. Saying hello is polite. And you've said hello. Now go finish your online class. Ha-rin pouted but skipped away, calling over her shoulder. See you at lunch, Kosi. Kosi followed Min-jae into his home office. It was just as impressive as his office in Gangnam. Dark wood and expensive everything. She really missed you, Min-jae said, settling behind his desk. It's been 2 days. 2 days is a long time when you're 7. He pulled up his calendar. Today's lighter. Mostly calls. You'll take notes, same as yesterday. The morning passed quickly. Kosi sat in on 3 conference calls, taking detailed notes, while Min-jae handled negotiations with the same cool control she'd seen yesterday. The man was intimidating when he wanted to be. At noon, Ha-rin appeared at the door, practically vibrating with excitement. Is it lunchtime? It's lunchtime. Mrs. Choi made japchae, and there's kimchi, and I helped set the table and... Breathe, Ha-rin, Min-jae said gently. They had lunch together in the dining room. Min-jae, Kosi, and Ha-rin. It felt domestic in a way that should have been weird, but somehow wasn't. Ha-rin chattered about her morning class, her upcoming art project, and her elaborate plans for her upcoming birthday party. Min-jae listened with patient attention, occasionally asking questions, and Kosi found herself relaxing, enjoying the moment. After lunch, Ha-rin finally got to show Kosi her drawings, all 17 of them. Each one featured the same 3 figures, a tall man, a little girl, and a woman with curls. This one is us at the beach, Ha-rin explained. This one is us at the zoo. This one is us getting married. Ha-rin, Min-jae warned. What? I'm just planning. Ha-rin looked at Kosi seriously. You still haven't forgotten. Your promise, right? I didn't promise. Yes, you did. And one day Daddy is going to ask you to marry him, and then you'll remember. Kosi caught Min-jae's eye. He looked somewhere between amused and embarrassed. Your daughter is relentless, Kosi said. It's a family trait. 3 weeks later, Kosi stood in her new apartment, looking around with deep satisfaction. 1 bedroom, hardwood floors with a view of the city, a kitchen with actual counter space, and yes, a glorious bathtub. Jae-hai sprawled on the new couch Kosi had just had delivered. I can't believe you actually did it. Believe it, Kosi grinned. First paycheck went to rent deposit and furniture. Second paycheck, I'm getting a car. A car? A small one, something cute and practical. Kosi had already been researching. I'm thinking about that white SUV I saw online. You're living your best life. Damn right I am. Kosi flopped next to her. New apartment, new job, new car incoming. I'm officially in my soft girl era. Speaking of your job, how's it going with Mr. Tall, Dark and Dangerous? It's good, actually. Kosi had been working for Min-jae for 3 weeks now. He's demanding but fair. The work is interesting. And Ha-rin is the sweetest. And the man himself? Kosi threw a pillow at her. He's my boss. A boss you're definitely not attracted to. I didn't say that. Aha! Jae-hai pointed triumphantly. So you are attracted to him. He's objectively attractive. That's just facts. Doesn't mean I'm going to do anything about it. Kosi stood up. Now help me decide where this plant should go. But the truth was, Min-jae was getting harder to ignore. The way he smiled when Ha-rin made him laugh. The way he listened when Kosi had opinions about his business strategies. The way he'd started asking her to stay for dinner more often. The 3 of them eating together like a family. It was dangerous, and Kosi knew it. 1 month into the job, everything changed. Kosi was in Min-jae's office when Taeyang burst in. His usual composure cracked. Boss, we have a problem. The park deal, they're backing out, and they're making threats. Min-jae's expression went cold. What kind of threats? The dangerous kind. They want to meet tonight, neutral location. Set it up. Min-jae looked at Kosi. You should go home. Why? Because this is going to get complicated. Kosi crossed her arms. I'm your secretary. Complicated is literally in my job description. Kosi, are you firing me? No, but... Then I'm coming to the meeting. Her voice was firm. You hired me because I don't scare easy, remember? Don't start treating me like I'm fragile now. Min-jae stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Fine. But you stay close to me. And if I tell you to leave, you leave. Understood? Understood. The meeting was in a private room at an upscale restaurant. 5 men waited, the Park family. Representatives. They looked smug, confident. The lead negotiator smiled coldly. Mr. Kang, we've decided the terms of our agreement are no longer acceptable. I see. Min-jae's voice was ice. And the new terms? Double the percentage, plus insurance that you won't retaliate. And if I refuse? The man's smile widened. I'm sure you understand the consequences. The threat hung in the air. This was extortion. Plain and simple. Kosi watched Min-jae's expression, controlled, dangerous. She could feel the tension radiating off Taeyang and the other guards. Then the lead negotiator made his mistake. He looked at Kosi. Pretty secretary you have there, Mr. Kang. Would be a shame if she got caught up in any unfortunate complications. The temperature in the room dropped. Min-jae stood slowly. You just made a very serious error. Did I? Because from where I'm sitting... He didn't finish the sentence. What happened next was fast. Min-jae's guards moved. The park. Representatives scrambled. There was shouting, threats, the sound of chairs scraping, and then Kosi saw it. One of Park's men reaching for something in his jacket. Gun! Taeyang shouted. Min-jae turned to Kosi, his face tight with fear. Get down! But Kosi was already moving. Not away. Toward. She grabbed a chair and swung it hard at the man's arm. The gun clattered to the floor. Then she kicked it across the room with perfect precision. The room went silent. Everyone stared at her. Kosi straightened her blazer, breathing hard but steady. She looked at the park representatives with absolutely no fear in her eyes. Now, she said calmly, are we going to have a civilized conversation? Or do I need to demonstrate what else I learned growing up? The lead negotiator's eyes were wide. You. Me. Kosi smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. So, shall we renegotiate? Min-jae was staring at her like he'd never seen her before. Kosi. Not now, boss. I'm working. She turned back to the men. Here's the new deal. You honor the original agreement, you forget about extortion, and in exchange, Mr. Kang forgets that you just threatened both him and me. Because trust me, you don't want to find out what happens when you make that particular mistake. There was a long pause. Then the lead negotiator slowly nodded. The original agreement stands. Excellent. Kosi's smile turned pleasant. I'm so glad we could reach an understanding. Taeyang, please escort these gentlemen out. As the park representatives filed out, still looking shell-shocked, Min-jae just stood there. Finally, he spoke. What the hell was that? That was me doing my job. Kosi picked up her bag. You hired me because I don't scare easy. I delivered. You could have been hurt. But I wasn't. She met his eyes. Do you think this is the first time someone pulled a weapon near me? Please. I've handled worse than this. Despite everything, Min-jae laughed. Actually laughed. You're insane. I'm practical. There's a difference. Kosi headed for the door. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a car viewing tomorrow morning, and I need my beauty sleep. She was almost out the door when Min-jae caught her arm. Kosi, wait. She turned. He was looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Thank you, he said quietly. For not running. For... He seemed to struggle for words. For being exactly who you are. You're welcome. Kosi smiled. Now seriously, I need sleep. Some of us have soft girl lifestyles to maintain. Next day, Kosi bought her car, a sleek white SUV that made her feel like she'd finally made it. She drove it straight to Jihai's office to show off. Oh my God! Jihai circled the car like it was a work of art. You actually did it! I told you I was entering my soft girl era. Kosi was practically glowing. New apartment, new car, thriving skin, good salary. I'm living. And your boss? Is still my boss. A boss who almost lost his mind when you disarmed a gunman for him. Kosi had told Jihai everything about the meeting. He was worried. That's different. That's called feelings, Kosi. Well, he hasn't said anything about feelings, so... Kosi shrugged. Now come on. Let me take you for a drive in my new baby. But Jihai was right. Something had shifted after that meeting. Min-jae looked at her differently now. Asked her opinion more. Started having dinner with her and Ha-rin almost every night she worked from the estate. Their conversations got longer, more personal. And Ha-rin? Ha-rin was in full matchmaker mode. Kosi, don't you think Daddy looks handsome today? Daddy, doesn't Kosi's hair look pretty? You should sit next to each other. It was adorable and exasperating in equal measure. What happens when a fearless secretary finally goes on a real date with her boss? And how will Ha-rin react when she finds out? Drop your predictions below if you're loving. If Kosi's journey from fired employee to thriving soft girl living her best life, hit that like button and subscribe. We're just getting to the good part. 2 months into the job, Kosi decided she needed a break. She'd been working nonstop, joggling between work and school, spending all her time either at the office or at the estate. She needed to remember what it felt like to do something just for herself. So when a friend from her class invited her to a blind date, Kosi said yes. She didn't mention it to Min-jae. Why would she? He was her boss, not her boyfriend. The date was at a nice restaurant in Gangnam. The guy was decent, good job, nice smile, boring conversation. Kosi was doing her best to stay engaged when she saw him. Min-jae, sitting across the restaurant, watching her. What the hell? Kosi excused herself and marched over to his table. Are you following me? The man looked up with an easy smile. Following you? I think you have me confused with someone else. I'm Min-ho. Kang Min-ho. Kosi blinked, then narrowed her eyes. Min-ho. Yes. Have we met? You look exactly like my boss. I get that a lot. I have a brother who... Min-jae, stop playing. Kosi crossed her arms. I know you, and I know your family. You don't have a brother named Min-ho. His facade cracked. A slow smile spread across his face. Worth a try. You're unbelievable. Are you seriously crashing my date pretending to be your own imaginary brother? Min-jae stood up. That man is boring you to tears. That's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is you don't get to just show up and... Kosi paused. Wait. Why do you even care? Min-jae stepped closer. You really have to ask? Kosi's breath caught. Boss, you promised to marry me, remember? She blinked. I did not. Ha-rin says you did, and I'm inclined to believe her. Well, Ha-rin is 8 and watches too many cartoons. Kosi shot back. And you haven't asked me anything. Min-jae stopped. What? You keep talking about this imaginary promise, but you haven't asked me on a single date. Kosi met his eyes. If you want something, boss, you need to actually say it. For a long moment, they just stood there. Then Min-jae smiled. You're right. Kosi Ibe, would you have dinner with me? A real dinner. Not as my secretary. As someone I'm very interested in. Kosi felt her heart race. Are you going to show up as yourself this time? No fake brothers? I promise. Then yes. But you're paying since you ruined my current date. Deal. Kosi went back to her table, apologized to her very confused date, and left with Min-jae. They had dinner. Real dinner. Just the two of them. And for the first time, they weren't boss and secretary. They were just Min-jae and Kosi, talking, laughing, and getting to know each other deeply. So, Kosi said over dessert, when are you going to tell Ha-rin you finally asked me out? She'll plan our entire wedding before dessert arrives. She's been planning it since the day we met. Min-jae laughed. Fair point. 3 months later, Kosi and Min-jae were officially together. They kept it quiet at first, but Ha-rin figured it out within approximately 12 seconds. I knew it. I told you. You promised, and Daddy finally asked. Life settled into a new rhythm. Kosi balanced her classes with working as Min-jae's secretary during the day. They had dinner together most nights, sometimes just the two of them, often with Ha-rin. Kosi kept her apartment because she liked her independence, but she stayed at the estate more and more often. It felt natural. Right. One night, 6 months into their relationship, Kosi woke up to find Ha-rin sneaking into their bedroom at dawn. Ha-rin? Kosi murmured, still half asleep. Everything okay? Can I sleep with you guys? I had a dream. Of course. Kosi lifted the blanket. Ha-rin climbed in, tucking herself between Kosi and Min-jae. Min-jae stirred. Ha-rin? Bad dream? No. A good dream. Ha-rin settled in, sighing contentedly. I dreamed that we were a family. All of us together. Forever. That's not a dream, baby girl, Min-jae said softly, wrapping an arm around both of them. That's real. I know. Ha-rin whispered. That's why it was a good dream. They fell back asleep like that, the three of them tangled together, a family in every way that mattered. After Ha-rin fell asleep, Min-jae looked at Kosi over the little girl's head. She's right, you know, he whispered. We are a family. Yeah, Kosi whispered back. We are. 1 year after Kosi first crashed into Min-jae in a shopping mall, he proposed. Not in the garden, not at a fancy restaurant, in Kosi's apartment on a random Tuesday evening while they were eating takeout. Kosi, Min-jae said suddenly, I have something to ask you. If it's about the Lee contract, I already sent... It's not about work. He pulled out a ring box. Kosi's chopsticks clattered to the table. Min-jae's expression was soft. Kosi Ibe, you crashed into my life, literally, and changed everything. You made Ha-rin laugh again. You made me remember what happiness feels like. You handle my world with grace, strength, and absolutely no fear. He opened the ring box. Will you marry me? Kosi looked at the ring, at Min-jae, at the life they'd built together. Yes, she said, tears in her eyes. Yes, I'll marry you. Min-jae slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her. Later, wrapped in his arms, Kosi laughed softly. What? Min-jae asked. Ha-rin's going to say she knew all along. She did know. She's been planning our wedding since the day you two met. Well, Kosi looked at her ring. I guess she was right. She usually is. It wasn't the story Kosi had planned. It didn't start with a meet-cute or a fairy tale moment. It started with getting fired for doing the right thing, with crashing into a stranger and being too angry to apologize, and it led here, to a family she'd accidentally stumbled into, to a love she'd never expected, to a future that was certain even if it wasn't yet written. Kosi Ibe had learned something important. Sometimes the best things in life don't come from careful planning. They come from moments of chaos, from fearless choices, from crashing into strangers and refusing to apologize, from being unapologetically, fearlessly yourself, and trusting that the right people will love you for exactly that. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments. If you love Kosi's journey, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.